Hey folks, Jessica here. So it is Septics time again. I did not expect this one to come as soon as it did. I feel like we just got a Septics, so I'm going to be doing a Septics video. It's been a while since I've done anything like this. The last one, I think, was my anniversary tick video, which is a completely different beast. Some caveats. This isn't going to be specifically geared towards brand new players. I did a Septics video in the past that talked about like what are good picks for brand new players. I actually don't think that's a good way to approach the game anymore and approach Septics, because you're not going to be a brand new player for very long, honestly. And picking a character because they provide some tools that are exclusively useful to a brand new player, not a great way to go. Instead, I'm going to be, and some people are going to hate this, but I'm going to be focusing on actually tier list rankings and core meta pieces, because I think a tier list is actually a great way to identify what strong meta characters there are that you might be missing. And ultimately, I think that's what you should be doing with Septics, picking up the meta pieces you are missing. If you have every meta piece, then it's really just whoever you like the most, and that's totally fine. If you're looking for a guide that talks specifically about characters that are newer exclusively, I would direct you over to Cyantril's channel. Cyantril is another Granblue fantasy content creator. My favorite one, actually. He is who I think of when I think of big brain Granblue fantasy players, because like he knows what he's talking about. His recent Septics video, I think it just came out a few hours ago, does focus on characters that are new in the last Septics and this Septics. So, moving forward, real quick refresher on Septics in case you've forgotten. These cannot be acquired by crystals. They have to be acquired with money, $30 essentially. A Septics gives you one pick. You can take either a non-limited character. Remember, it's non-limited. So if you see me jump around on the tier list a lot, it's because most of the top of the meta characters, the best characters in the game, are limiteds. That's just how it be. Honestly, that's how it is in really any gacha game that has limiteds. There are some exceptions to that, and we will definitely talk about those first when we start talking about picks. Alternatively, if you don't want a character, you could get a weapon. These are all 30 moon weapons, I believe. This I don't recommend you doing unless you really know what you're doing, or you've already gotten all of the characters that you would want from a Septics. Common choices here are any of the versions of Gisla. Gisla itself is the best version of Gisla, obviously, but Spear of Assail is a wind Gisla. Crimson Finger is a fire Gisla. Those two aren't nearly as useful as regular Gisla. Beyond that, there's Taming Sari. Taming Sari is a light weapon. It is one of the few ways to get damage cap up in grid for light, so that is another choice you can make. Beyond that, you can take a summon. I generally don't recommend taking a summon. The main reason why you might want to take a summon is if you really wanted some specific summon for a very specific strategy. Bonito, of course, is very useful for water OTK, but you can just take a friend Bonito instead if you want. Another one that's in the similar vein would be like Gorilla for Earth United Fight, but that's just past. Freyr is a strong one for wind because of the call. So those are some options there, but generally don't take a summon unless you've really got nothing better to take. Okay, recommendations. The tier list you're looking at here is the one on Granblue Fantasy Wiki, but is actually a copy of the GameWith tier list, as they point out themselves. They just put it in a very nice chart here that I think is really useful because it gives you some visual references, and you can mouse over to get a brief description of the character. This is a really nice setup. The information, though, is from GameWith. If you're not familiar with GameWith, they are a Japanese site that does a lot of analysis of characters in Granblue and weapon grids and all kinds of Granblue stuff. Kamigame is another site that I reference routinely. That one has a tier list as well, but we're just going to stick with the GameWith one for consistency. The thing to note is there's this for limited time tag they put on the characters. This is starting from 10.0, so the highest possible rating, descending. And just look as I scroll down at all the characters that are for a limited time. It's almost every single character above like a 9.5 is for a limited time. And that's going to be really indicative of the relative space that non-limited characters exist, with some exceptions, versus limited characters. So moving on. Natural place to start is going to be the most powerful non-limited character in the game. You've probably seen this coming, but it is SSR Predator. I've done a character spotlight on her, so I will be brief here, but she is by many magnitudes the most powerful non-limited character in the game. She is in fact much more powerful than a ton of the limited characters in the game. If you do not have SSR Predator, she is who you should take with your Septics. End the video right there. Don't want to hear a counter argument. She's so crucial for Dark right now. To the point where Unite Fight is coming up real soon for Dark. If you don't have an SSR Predator, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to really struggle to keep up with a player that is running SSR Predator, no matter how strong your grid is. You're going to hate it if you don't have an SSR Predator, because everyone's going to be talking about how SSR Predator for them is carrying them. Brief recap of her skills. Her 1 is Assault Blow, inflicts Blinded and Onslaught. Blinded is important because it enables her 3, Laughing Phantom. Onslaught lets you basically use an assassin skill without any restrictions on the timing of it. Laughing Phantom gives her Assassin, Attack Up, and Crit Up, and when she's below 25% HP, makes her guaranteed to dodge. Assassin gives you a tremendous boost in damage to the next attack. If it's a triple attack, it will affect the whole triple attack. If you've seen my videos lately, my SSR Predator throws out something like 12 to 15 million damage just from a triple attack with Laughing Phantom on. Her 2 is Creeping Shadow. Gives you Jammed, the enmity buff, a 50% echo and double strike, and consumes 40% of her HP. That enables enmity for her, and honestly, on her own, even without an enmity grid, she's still going to probably hit for damage cap with all her stuff up. Big thing, she's got guaranteed triple attack. Honestly, 2020 is the year of guaranteed triple attack. Any character that has guaranteed triple attack is probably worthy of being a meta character. Her especially. She does also have increased dodge rate, a thing people don't talk about too much, but she does have Skulking Black Tears, which is a big boost to all allies' attack based on how low her HP is, so it's essentially enmity for the whole team. Doesn't matter what your reasoning is, this is who you should take. If you're a brand new player, like a day 1 player, this is still the best choice for you, because SSR Predator is so powerful, she will literally carry you through like the first 80% of the game on her own, even if you don't have a good grid to support her. It's fine. She's just the best choice. We started in Dark, so let's finish out in Dark. Kalulu's the next best choice. She's also 9.7 like Predator. Main thing with her is she is more of a situational character than Predator is. Predator is useful in pretty much every fight in Dark. Kalulu's more for certain fights with a certain grid with certain support characters. The brief rundown on her, since this isn't a full review, is she's kind of a tank. She's got Girl of Steel, which lets her sub. Tally-Ho is her nuke. Get used to hearing her Tally-Ho all the freaking time. She Tally-Ho's on charge attack as well. Tally-Ho is a 6-hit nuke, so useful for clearing hits-based omens. Inflicts death down and blinded, but the main thing is it hits hard. It's like 2.5 million damage on my team. And then she can reset all her skills with Still Alive, so lets her Girl Seal and Tally-Ho again. And like I said, she will Tally-Ho on charge attack, so her charge attacks are like charge attack for a ton of damage, and then Tally-Ho for even more damage. And then beyond that, the main reason she's used for racing, though, is when she's below 25% HP, she will automatically Tally-Ho at end of turn. So she's going to throw like 3 or 4 Tally-Hos every turn. It's nuts how much damage you can throw out that way. But that's 4 skill damage Dark specifically. So if that's a setup you want to try, Kalulu is a great option. And if you need some ways to survive harder fights, Kalulu is a great option. One last thing to talk about with Kalulu, and this is not a thing everybody considers, but her weapon is Vagabond, which is a very powerful premium Dark weapon. It's commonly used in Dark meta setups. It's big enmity, but it's also Dark allies skill damage cap, which is super synergistic with characters like Kalulu herself, and then Black Knight also. If you're running Monk, really anybody that throws nukes a lot loves having Vagabond in the grid. I'm going to try and give 5 recommendations for each element, but after Predator and Kalulu, the power level drops significantly for non-limited Dark characters. The next one I'd recommend is probably Vampy, Vanya, OG Vanya. She's a really old character, but she's a fan favorite, and for a reason. She's got a really useful utility kit. She's got Delay, she can give Charge Bar, she can Charm, she can give Drain. In general, brings a very fine utility kit, but after her 5-star, she actually is a pretty solid damage dealer as well. because she can give herself like attack up, defense up, multi-attack rate up. Very good choice overall. Wolf and Rene, another character that you might not have thought about in a while. I guess they're two characters, so yeah, these two. Guaranteed triple attack. Like I was saying, this is the year of guaranteed triple attack. If you have guaranteed triple attack in 2020, you are a legitimate choice for a meta team. In addition to that, you can put Rene's tears on them, and this is a pretty significant damage steroid. They've got this like Lone Wolf Scar mechanic, which can be a little bit awkward, but it's pretty easily played around. And then also dodge rate up, so some additional survivability. The last choice I'm going to mention, not because I think he on the surface is a powerful character on his own, but he brings something so unique to your toolkit that there's a lot of reason to want to have him, and that's Dark Vesaraga. So Vesaraga, like, is just a dark attacker, has a bunch of nukes and stuff, whatever. But the main reason why he can be nuts sometimes is Feel No Pain. This trait, Vesaraga won't be knocked out for the first 20 turns. Let me read that again. Vesaraga won't be knocked out for the first 20 turns. That does what it says. He will cockroach for 20 turns. And in a lot of fights, there are strats you could use where you unload everything on the boss with like Dark Lucha and Enmity, and your whole team freaking dies, and then Vesaraga just finishes out. That's totally legit. You could even join like a low HP Lucilius HL failed like solo attempt or something, and probably finish it out with Vesaraga. Because, like, again, his normal kit isn't anything too crazy, but he will not die for 20 turns, and that's usually enough to finish out a ton of fights, especially with the fact that he has a bunch of nukes as well. And you know what? He's in Dark, so the fact that he can survive probably means he's going to be low HP, so he's probably going to be hitting for crazy damage too, because he's just going to be on 1 HP. So Vesaraga is a solid option that not everybody thinks about if you don't already have him. Next, I think we'll do Wind. I kind of immediately regret saying that I would try to find 5 characters. I will try to find 5 characters to recommend. Some elements I might do less if I just don't think there's 5 that are worth recommending. I think the natural choice for Wind, though, would be Urius if you don't already have him. He is primarily for hard fights, so Lucilius HL, Beelzebub, etc. The main draw of Urius is Discover Truth, his 1. It has a 0-turn cooldown and just consumes 10% charge bar, essentially meaning you can spam it. It's a stacking attack and defense down, which is very important for those fights. And it stacks up to 40%, which is pretty high. Most characters only stack it to 30%. In addition to that, it has a random debuff effect. This is how you clear Lucilius's debuff labor traditionally. But it can do any of these effects, and they're all fine. Like, some of these are really nice to get on the boss, like Petrify, Sleep, Charm, Blind, Paralyze. They're all going to significantly increase your survivability. So that's what he is for. Next character, okay, Tiamat would be the next one I recommend. Tiamat's a pretty good overall utility character. I would say she's a good, full auto character. Essentially, she's a crest character, so she benefits from Typhoon Crest and gives you Typhoon Crest, but she's got a nice attack up and defense up, which is nice, but she also heal on her 1, and here's the thing with full auto. I'll do a video on full auto at some point, but characters can't use heals with full auto. They won't use green border skills. They'll only use yellow border, red border, and blue border. So having a character heal on a skill that's not a green border makes them a decent full auto character, because it's one way to get healing in full auto setups. In addition to that, she's got a nice attack and defense down with Crippling Storm. It becomes Supercell if you have full crest. At that point, it becomes a delay. In addition to that, just a very good skill. And then she gives Veil and Mirror Image. Solid skills overall. She gives a effect that's similar to Seraphic Weapon effect to the entire team. So it does render a Seraphic Weapon dead in Wind if you're using her. However, it also means you can free that slot up for something else if you want. So Tiamat's the next thing I would recommend for Wind. Let's find some more Wind characters that are worth recommending. Okay, actually, Wind Yoda. The most edgelord of the Yodas. He came out a while back, but main draw of him is he's really good for fights where you want to just burst the boss down super fast. So like running Wind Lucha, for example, and tag teaming. The reason he's good at that is, well, guaranteed triple attack. You love to see it. For the same reasons, all the characters have guaranteed triple attack. That's very solid here. But in addition to that, he can give himself like double strike. He can give himself an echo, various things. Can give himself insta charge. He's got this shroud mechanic, which is kind of awkward. But honestly, you're mostly using him just to end a fight rapidly, so you don't really need to worry about the shroud if the boss is dead. So that's how that works. Wind Hellas, I think, is a decent option also, primarily because of Royal Litany, her 3. This gives all your team members a sort of assassin type effect. So that's why you bring her. And then, I might actually recommend Wind Naos, however you say it. Let me know down below. The main thing is he is essentially Urius. He stacks attack and defense down pretty rapidly. Again, 0 turn cooldown. He uses this arrow mechanic. But the main difference between the two is Urius doesn't have any nukes, and Naosi, however you say his name, does have nukes. This is also, I believe, a multi-hit nuke. Okay, I guess this isn't a multi-hit nuke, but he does have a 10-hit multi-hit nuke. So I would say he's better for fights where you need hit count in order to beat a mechanic. He's a good way to do that. So overall, yours is probably better generally speaking, but for fights where you need hit count and damage, you can make a compelling option for him. The main reason I say Urius is better generally is I don't think he doesn't have any random debuffs he stacks, so you missed that part of the damage mitigation equation. Fire has quite a few good options for non-limited characters you could pick. Athena is the natural one everyone's going to look at. Athena's main thing is she's a damage mitigation kind of character. She's got a wind cut, but it's tied to a wind switch, so it actually works against any element, and it has a tiny refresh tied to it. Beyond that, she can stack Death down with her nuke to a pretty high margin. It stacks to 40%. Inflicts Burned, which has synergy with a lot of fire character skills. And then hits do increase based on her stacking Goddess Wrath level. It becomes a 10-hit nuke at full, so very useful for clearing hits-based omens. In addition, she will auto-cast it when targeted in certain conditions, so it can be a lot of damage if you get targeted a lot on her. Her 3 is a delay, blind, double attack down. All said, very useful hard content character. Another character that's pretty good for fire is Fire Siegfried, actually. So he's got a pretty decent permanent self-steroid. He's guaranteed to multi-attack, which is not guaranteed triple attack. He's guaranteed to double. So there's that. It's not triple, but it's not nothing either. In addition to that, he does have a wind damage cut as well, but it's not tied to his switch, so it's not going to work on everything like Athena's will. And then he's got stackable fire, specifically Death down, so that's nice, 30%. Has his Salvador thing, which gives him a bunch of effects like 100% debuff resist, chance of lowering damage taken, can heal. He will hurt himself, which can be awkward in some fights, but generally it's not a bad thing, especially if you're running Fire Enmity. Especially since he heals himself also on his charge check, so it's not a huge deal. He also gives skill damage and skill damage cap up, but only for Fire Saber specialty characters, which is very narrow in application, but overall good character. Fire Matera is a pretty solid character. She's got a kit that has a bunch of useful utility stuff like delay and charm, but really the main reason you use her is her 1 Starry Sky. It gives her 5 ethereal seals. While she has ethereal seal, she does an 80% echo. 80% echo, that's a really big echo. And the uptime is very high. She gets 5 seals, so it's essentially 5 turns of duration and then a 6-turn cooldown, so she almost always has it up. That's a bit narrow in how she's used, but that is the primary reason people use her, and she's very strong because of it. Let's get serious with Zeta. See what I did there? Zeta is me, so obviously we're going to talk about her, but she's also a tremendously powerful character after her 5-star. So she's a character of a kit full of nukes that have utilities tied to them, and she can double activate all her nukes if you have Rhapsody up that turn. When you use Rhapsody, it gives her an assassin effect that works on any character that you used her 1 on, Spear of Arves. Spear of Arves gives her guaranteed triple. It's not 100% uptime, obviously, but it will be up when you assassin, and that's when it matters most. Additionally, Thousand Flames gives her the ability to dispel, and remember, she can double activate this, so she can double dispel. Similarly, Reign of Fury gives her a delay, and she can double delay with Rhapsody, so that's super useful if you need to stretch out charge diamonds. And also, I'm going to note, this does 1,000,000 plane damage. That specifically matters because you can double activate for 2,000,000 plane damage, and there is a labor on Lucilius HL that requires you to deal 2,000,000 plane damage. Also, a small thing, she takes a unique item to fully uncap to 5-star, this thing, Crimson Pathos. This used to be an issue because this was from an event, but they have added this to the store actually. So if you were hesitant to take her, or if you do have her and couldn't uncap her all the way before because you missed the event, now you can. You just need to get it from the store, and it's not too hard to get. Okay, there's a bunch more fire characters that you could legitimately take with a tick. Usis, Fire Usis, however you say her name, is good for enmity, and Thuria is actually pretty decent now after her buff if you want like a defensive healy dodgy kind of character. But I'm gonna actually point out Satyr because she's got a unique thing. On the surface, I don't think she's that great. She does have stacking attack and defense down up to 30. Again, it's only 30, not 40, so alright. But the main thing is she's got this weird thing on Innocent Heart where she cuts the duration of a debuff on you, as opposed to clearing it. And that's interesting. It's not that big a deal right now. It really only is a thing that matters on like Beelzebub. But there are certain debuffs you can't clear with clarity. And Innocent Heart kind of gets around that because it's not clearing it, it's just shortening the duration. So if there's more fights that have that kind of thing, I'm not convinced there will be. But if there are, then this is a useful thing to have. Very niche, very, very nuanced, but it might matter at some point. Okay, water. For water, I would recommend Lily, actually. If you don't have SSR Lily, she is a very solid character for hard content. She's got a damage cut. It's fire only. Typically, you pair her with Europa for fire switch on fights like Lucilius. That's a solid combo. She's got stacking attack and defense down up to 40%, very high. And she's actually a pretty good full auto character. While she won't activate White Heal, her heal, since it's a green border skill, she gives herself Spring Breeze when you use her 1 Silver Frost Barrier, which will activate on full auto, and Spring Breeze auto casts White Heal 3 times. So overall, solid character for hard content and full auto. Not really someone you want to bring on a bursty team, but not every character is. Other characters for water I'd recommend, Vayne, actually. Vayne is kind of an enmity character. He's got the ability to consume his own HP, gets himself jammed, and he's got this Soul Eruption thing which fully heals him, but can only be activated at low HP and gives him a super steroid. In addition, he can heal himself with his 1, so he's kind of an enemy character more sustained, but I think the most unique thing about him is actually the fact that his 2 gives him Substitute and Guts tied to it, so he's pretty much guaranteed to survive on that turn because the attack, he'll take an attack for team and it will take him at most to 1. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's a really short cooldown for a sub. I don't think any other character has a sub that can be activated that frequently. So those are the main reasons for Vayne. Beyond that, I would have to recommend Altair. Altair is like really an unexciting character in my opinion, but he brings a utility kit that's handy if you don't have other ways of getting this stuff. He's got like attack and defense up and water attack up on his 1. He's got attack and defense down and water defense down on his 2. You can see why I think he's unexciting. And he's got charge bar buff to everybody on his 3. Overall, like a fine general support character, but as vanilla as they come as far as support characters go. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have uses, especially if you don't have the ability to get these things otherwise. A decent water character that's come out recently, actually, is Watersturm. So she's a weird one. A big thing is she's an attacker, and she's got guaranteed triple attack. You'll love to see it. It's guaranteed triple attacks while the foe has a buff, so it's more conditional, but it's really strange, but her 2 grants a foe double attack up and triple attack up. That might be an issue depending on what you're fighting, so keep that in mind, but that will ensure that she guaranteed triples. In addition, she also gains a 50% echo, a 150 crit rate up, and then keen. Whole ton of stuff. She also can give the foe a charge diamond. Again, might be an issue, but it gives her double charge attack activation, charge attack reactivation, and she can stack attack and defense down on her charge attack. If you can play around the weird stuff she gives the enemy, she's actually quite a potent attacker. just keep in mind she does do some weird stuff to the boss if you use her. Yeah, Sturm. Honestly, like, a lot of her effects have significant drawbacks, but if your strategy is to kill the thing before it matters, then honestly, you're fine. And these days, a lot of Granblue fantasy is killing the thing before anything matters, so there you go. As for a fifth character, there's a whole bunch of characters here that are all like similar ratings. So like Milior and Sally Lau, uh, the 5-star Romeo, Silva, Yoda, Vampy. These are all like subtixable. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd pick Silva. That's just personal favorite. I love Silva. She's a giant gun lesbian. How can I not love her? Does a bunch of stuff, but the main thing is she can give herself instant charge bar for absolutely astronomically damaging charge attack. She charge attacks for a shit ton of damage. That's the main reason you use her. Overall, all these characters, all these 9.4s, none of them really stand out to me, but they're all alright. So pick any of them as your fifth choice. I do like Silva though, but that's personal bias. Excuse me for a moment while I stare in silence at my screen. Because we're going to talk about Earth next, and Earth, to be frank, doesn't have a lot of good non-limited characters. There's a couple, we'll talk about those first, and then I will try and think up some more. The first one, and actually my pick for my Septics, is Pengi. So Pengi does a bunch of stuff, but the main thing is, you'll love to see it, guaranteed triple attack. If you can guarantee triple in 2020, you are legit. Her mechanic is PN, and a bunch of her skills consume PN. A bunch of her skills consume PN, and when she runs out of PN, she explodes and dies. So she's one of those characters. She flies close to the sun before she crashes into it and explodes. Main thing is she guarantees triple, and she can use her 3 to instantly attack without using a turn, which would be a guaranteed triple because, again, that's her thing. She can recharge her PN to give herself some more staying power, but she will eventually run out of PN and die. But she is mainly used for spamming triple attacks. And you might not think that that's as powerful as I'm saying it is, but she was the meta choice for a ton of Earth players in the United fight. In fact, until like Nightmare like 150 came out, the top 3 players were all using Pengi. It's just... that's how powerful Guaranteed Triple is. The next pick for non-limited Earth character is going to be Dante and Freyheit, and Dante and Freyheit are awesome, because Freyheit is a freaking cat. Look at that good boy. I love Freyheit, because he's also a black cat, just like Stig. Now, big thing with them, you'll love to see it, Guaranteed Triple Attack. It's only a 2-turn duration, 8-turn cooldown, so uptime's not that high. But in addition to that, Dante gets a bunch of stat buffs if Black Cat Fancy is up. And while Black Cat Fancy is up, Freyheit will actually jump out to smack the thing in the face with a staff when Dante attacks, so very nice. And there's random buffs that get applied while that happens. And in addition to that, like Pengi, without the need to consume PN, Dante and Freyheit can instantly attack without using up a turn. Boy, we're in the Shadowlands now, looking at Earth non-limited characters. Okay, here's the thing. These 9.4s and below, for the most part, they're either really niche or they're okay generally, but they're just much better options. So like Halicina is a good attacker in that she can increase her damage and multi-attack and has hype mechanics. But if she gets hit, that becomes a major problem. Medusa has some unique debuffs in Scared Stiff, which is a separate damage mod, and Earth Death Down, but not generally somewhere one you use everywhere. Ball really wants a long fight to be good. Can stack attack and defense down, has Dispel. I guess we have to talk about Sora's, because Sora's got a 5-star uncap recently, and a lot of people actually used him in United Fight. The main thing I would say about him is he is a good full auto character. That's probably why a ton of people use him in United Fight. Can stack defense down, has a self-heal, gets stronger the more he gets hits. So like all things that work well in full auto. The main reason I don't like him though, like I actually really hate this character, and the main reason is this Macho Ultimatum skill. This is attack up based on the number of female main allies, and I do not like the way that skill is designed. the issue, there's many issues, but one of them is it cares about main character's gender. So if you're using Gran as your main character instead of Jita, then your swords is just straight up going to do less damage than you're running Jita. I run Jita, so that's not really a problem, but it's the principle of it that bothers me. And I actually know some folks that run Jita specifically because of the Sora's bonus. So there you go. If it doesn't bother you, whatever, he's fine as a full auto character, but I don't like him. Cagliostro, I guess, would be another one to talk about real fast because she's generally a useful character everywhere, like Altair is. Like Altair, she's kind of very vanilla, I would say. She's less vanilla than Altair because honestly, a scoop of vanilla ice cream is less vanilla than Altair, but she's good. So her charge attack is attack up, Earth attack up, she healing cap up, great. Can inflict death down and Earth death down. Reverse Ouroboros is a pretty significant buff to the team. It's attack, defense, double attack, triple attack up. She's a Wasteland Crest character, can give crit and keen and can heal. Overall, she's... Oh, machine auto revive. That's not always relevant, but it's nice to know. Overall, she's a very solid all-rounder character. It's just she's not like broken in any way. She's just a solid support character. And in general, I feel like in 2020, like being solid is not good enough. You gotta be broken. So that's where we're at. But otherwise, she's a very solid character. All right, last element. Let's talk light. With light, I'm gonna start with Fairy. Fairy's a really old character, but she's actually still pretty good today. She holds up. Main thing is her 3 is effectively Alanon's 2. It costs 100% charge bar on all allies. You need 100% charge bar on all allies in order to use it, and it consumes them, and it gives them all guaranteed triple, love to see it, and 30% echo, and shorted. Shorted makes it so you can't gain charge bar, but you can just clarity that, not a big deal. But it's this part you care about. And like Alanon, this works great in strike time, because you can just jump in, activate it, and then just go ham. Outside strike time, you're gonna need an enabler. So Alanon has the new Mimlamel in order to give everybody charge bar to activate 2. Fairy doesn't have a Mimlamel per se, but she does have Granvira, which is an option. Because I used Granvira, I showed this in my Lucha video. With Lucha, if you use Granvira's Aegis Merge and then Divine Weapon, gives everyone guaranteed triple. You hit Tag Team, everyone guaranteed triples, and then you actually attack, guaranteed triple again because Divine Weapon lasts the entire turn, not just one attack. You are now on 100% charge bar. Then you can use Fairy's 3, and then you can just go. That's a solid setup, but it does require Granvira, so that's the only thing with Fairy. Next character I'll talk about, Light Ilsa. So Light Ilsa does a bunch of stuff. Gives multi-attack, gives dodge, gives defense, gives dark attack down. But the main thing is she has a 20% team-wide echo, light echo, that she can activate at any time. That's essentially 100% uptime. That's pretty big. And really, there's other reasons, but that's the main one. I wouldn't recommend regular Jeanne d'Arc, even though she's here. Let's look at her real fast. Issue of regular Jeanne d'Arc is her kit, like any old character kit, is super unexciting. It's well-rounded. Like, she has a death down, charge bar up, guaranteed triple. All that stuff's fine, but it's just nothing about her is exciting. But the main reason I wouldn't recommend her is she's just, in every way, a straight downgrade from her Grand version, which you would expect, because they're the same character. But yeah, in every way, Grand Jeanne d'Arc does everything regular Jeanne d'Arc does, but better. That's the whole intent of her design, in fact. And while you might not have Grand Jeanne d'Arc, I don't like recommending regular Jeanne d'Arc as a pick, because if you ever pull Grand Jeanne d'Arc, regular Jeanne d'Arc just becomes a dead character, like a dead slot. There's no reason to run her if you have the Grand version, so there you go. Also, characters consider Gunzoe, Gooey. I don't think anybody calls her that. But she's got a pretty nice kit, has some decent self buffs, gives herself dodge rate up, and she also has hostility up, so she will likely take hits for the team and then maybe dodge them, and then she will nuke when she dodges. She's got a powerful damage nuke and can give a buff to the whole team with her 3. Good for things like clearing damage labor on Lucilius if that's something that is difficult for you. Overall, pretty solid hard content character. A few more characters in light I would recommend. Rabomi is actually pretty good for one-turn kills. because she's got really high damage on her charge attack. She's good for being a back row character also that comes in at the last second and blasts all her shit for a bunch of nukes and triples and does a ton of damage. Not a bad character to pick. Let's see, who else? Okay, here's an interesting one. De La Fee. So De La Fee was a bit of a joke character for a long time in that she was probably the worst character in the game. After her 5-star, you can actually make a reasonable case to run her in full auto comps, actually, because she brings some nice stuff. The big thing, though, is she's got this thing where she'll put this buff called Fulgence on herself, which will activate in full auto because it's a yellow border skill. And that makes it so when the enemy uses a special attack, it will cast Benedictive Light. Benedictive Light is a heal and a revitalize, a charge bar buff, and a crest builder, but it's also a clarity. And that makes her able to routinely cast clarity, essentially, while full autoing. And there's not a ton of characters that do that. So she's got a place now. She's actually a decent character now. And her 5-star uncap, like, there's her regular art, and then there's the 3-star uncap, and then her 5-star uncap. It's this portrait, and I actually think it's really cool looking. Alright, there we are, end of the Septics video. If you want to get more recommendations for characters, some niche advice for characters, just feel free to ask me down below. I will again restate, if you don't have SSR Predator and you're going to Septic something, Septics SSR Predator. No other option you pick is going to have as much impact, especially with the Dark United fight coming up. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this and found it useful. I don't think I'm going to do a Septics video for every Septics, because honestly, these take a while, and the information usually becomes outdated by the next Septics video. So we'll see. But yeah, if you want to talk about it, just let me know down below. If you want more opinions on characters, definitely check out Cyantril's video. Again, I'll link that down below. Super useful. I'll also link the tier list down below so you can evaluate for yourself what you think is important. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!